What's the weirdest thing a guest has done at your house? I had some work people over for a dinner party at my house. We purposely shut off the lights leading upstairs to sort of let the guests know that the party is downstairs. i.e., there is nothing for you upstairs. Throughout the night I would see one of my coworkers taking out the dip from his lip with his index finger and scraping it into his solo cup. A bit later I went upstairs to check on my dog and hear some noises from the master bedroom. I walked in and saw the same dude using my toothbrush to get dip out from in between his teeth. He doesn't get invited to parties anymore. Wiped their ass on the white sink hand towel after taking a shit. Had plenty of available toilet paper. Called them out for it. They denied it. So I never invited them over again. My friend treated my house like it was his own hotel room. I thought was coming to visit me and we'd coordinate for stuff to do. But it turns out he just wanted to save money on a place to sleep. He had his own plans and didn't tell me about any of them until he got to my place. And he even tried getting his other friends in the area to sleep at my place. I hadn't seen him in years, too. So I was disappointed that I planned my holiday weekend around my friend, but he had other plans. Ate the dog's pellets. The bag was nearly full before she came and was half full when she left. Friend of a friend was on mushrooms and decided to do some amateur electrical work during a party at my house. That's a direct quote, by the way. Overheard by multiple people. If that statement terrifies you, that's because those are not words that should ever be in the same sentence, let alone a sentence that amounts to a thing you are about to do at someone else's house. Yaso. Not being an electrician, I can't tell you exactly what he did or what he was trying to do. All I can tell you is that $800 and 24 hours later the problem he created was solved by a professional. He wound up in the hospital and exited the party in an ambulance. Lol. Amateur electrical work. He's fine and paid me back. All in all, pretty good dude. First college party. A girl drank one beer and started acting like she was wasted. Got fully naked and sat on my papasan chair. One of the most embarrassingly attention-seeking people I've ever met, lol. He said he needed to look up something on internet, so I lended him my laptop. He then proceeds to watch porn on my couch while I am 6 feet away from him. I took the laptop back. We were having a party at my house. It was weird as fuck to begin with because my dad was having a hard time choosing between two women. He'd date one for a little while. Then break up to date the other one for a little while. Then realize he really loved the first one. It was a mess. Anyway, he invited them both to our house that night and they both brought their kids. Who were all around my age. There were 6 of us kids in all. My best friend was the first woman's daughter. Well, she had hatched a plan and without really offering an explanation, convinced me to initiate a game of truth or dare. Her plan was for me to dare her to put her head inside my toilet and flush it. No fucking clue why I agreed, but I did. I dared her. She immediately jumps up and runs to the bathroom. All of us following her. Lifts the toilet seat. Submerges her head into the toilet water and flushes. One of the second woman's daughters is looking on at her as if she's fucking insane. She wasn't wrong though. And there's all this commotion in my bathroom between the 6 of us, and our parents all come rushing inside to see what the fuck is going on. My best friend's mother's eyes go wide as fucking saucers, and I swear I saw smoke coming out of her ears as she starts screaming at her daughter. Pulling her head out of the toilet and wrapping her hair in one of my towels. At this point I'm fucking crying and struggling for air because all of this is the most fucked up hilarious shit that I have ever witnessed in my short life. Her mother screams at me in this high-pitched, enraged voice to shut up because it's not funny and I have to leave before she tries to kill me too. My poor bestie got in big trouble for embarrassing the hell out of her when she was trying so hard to get my father to choose her over the other woman. Her mother convinced my father to punish me for daring her daughter to do that. Even though her daughter was the one who wanted this to happen. The other mom and her kids left pretty much immediately. But when the others left, my bestie catches my eye and she has this huge squints pallidorous smirk, the Sandlot, on her face like yeah. Mission accomplished. She knew exactly what the fuck she was doing because that second lady never looked back and my dad ended up choosing her mom for some crazy fucked up reason. My roommate had the drummer, figures, of his band over. Dude heats up the metal end of his lighter and just sticks it on my ankle. Sober. Burned the hell out of me. Didn't say a word. or acted like it was anything but innocent and amusing. I had never met the prick before. Between fight, flight or freeze response. I've never been a freeze except for that day. Genuinely shocked. It was me. I was visiting my brother and sis-in-law at their fancy new apartment and I took a smelly shit. They had candles in there for just that sort of thing, so I lit 2 and hung around while the scent worked its magic. Not sure how, but I didn't notice the black smoke coming from the candles was leaving black streaks on the walls. I blew out the candles and tried to clean the walls. TP didn't work, so I used their white fancy towels. It still didn't work, but I ruined those towels trying. Eventually there was no escape but to fess up, so I did and was mortified. A co-ed of mine, a very much petite and super straight-laced girl, attended a small party at my place with a few other people from uni. She usually doesn't drink much, but this night began to pick out and eat all the fruit from the self-made fruit punch. If you know anything about fruit punches, the fruit are absolutely soaked with alcohol. Way more so than the actual punch. We told her, but she continued to snack on the fruits. Just a bit slower. She ended up absolutely shit-faced drunk after a short while. A tiny bit later she disappeared into the bathroom. Puking noises were heard, which probably was a good thing considering how drunk she was. After a longer time of silence I knocked to check if she was fine. I got some indiscernible mumbling about maybe she could use some help, but maybe don't come on, but she can't do it alone. Maybe I could give her a frying pan or a spoon or something. I was very confused and told her I would open the door and to make sure she was dressed. When I came she was blushed to the maximum, sitting on the floor. The whole bathtub was full of liquid vomit thinned with water and tons of fruit swimming around. She went on about how she wasn't able to clean the mess up alone. Apparently she had been trying to shovel the whole tub full of vomit into the toilet using her hands the whole time. The shit you do when drunk, lol. The bathtub was clogged up with fruit, so it didn't empty. I grabbed some stuff from the kitchen. She unclogged the bathtub with some tools. We filtered the fruit with a sieve and drained and cleaned the bathtub. Well, mostly me, as she fell asleep on the floor during the process. Well, after the bathroom was done I put up my camping bed in my room. Grabbed some extra blankets and a small couch pillow and tried to wake her up. She wouldn't, so I carried her over to the bed and made sure she was warm. Put a bucket next to the bed and a small bottle of water. The party went on into the morning hours. When I woke up the next morning, or rather around early afternoon, she was gone. The bed was perfectly made. When I got to the living room it was perfectly clean with no signs of there ever being a party last night. Same for the kitchen, minus a few remaining full bottled and snacks all nearly packed up in Tupperware. There was a written note. Well, more of a letter on length lying on the kitchen table. In her note she explained in length how she was extremely embarrassed by what happened. That she was thankful how I handled the situation and that I remained calm. Also she said that other guys she knows might have tried to take advantage of her drunk state and she was happy I didn't for 1 second try anything. Lastly she said to make up the mess she made she cleaned the kitchen and living room from all the party remains. Also she made breakfast which was in the fridge. Lastly she'd be happy if I didn't contact her for a week or 2 as she'd be too embarrassed to talk to me anyways. We became really close friends after that happened, but it was surely weird. Both the bathtub full of fruit vomit juice and meticulously cleaning my flat the day after. Called it free lodging and comped meals, and didn't flush the toilet. Left wrappers under the guest bed. Refused to carry their own luggage. A grown man in our house for the first and last time, college academic team gathering. This was not a family friend, marked his height on our children's wooden growth chart. In permanent Sharpie marker. Took the sample Mach 5 razor, it was new and they had sent the whole neighborhood a full-size sample, out of my mailbox. Then shaved all his pubes with it and leave them in my shower drain. Then proceeded to lie to my face about it as if the pubes magically appeared on the very same day everyone in the neighborhood got a new free razor in the mail except for me. Had a former friend visit me from overseas and literally disappear overnight to go and fuck some guy she'd been talking to online. Leaving me to field a call from her husband, who wanted to know why his wife wasn't answering her mobile. When I was 14 my landlord came to our apartment to fix the toilet and he took his pants off and did the whole thing in his boxers. I was alone with my mom and ignored him, but it was weird, and when I told my dad he was furious. The landlord said he was going to a wedding later and didn't want to dirty his pants, but it was so fucking weird that he just did it and never explained himself until my dad screamed on him. I was a kid and invited another kid to my house, an LT, 10 years old. When he showed up he brought like 4 to 5 family members with him. No parents, just siblings and cousins. They stayed just a few minutes. Everything was awkward. They said they had to leave. Insisted on knowing the way out themselves. And that was that. About 2 to 3 minutes pass and I go to the kitchen for a drink and they're all still in my house hiding behind the counters stealing our silverware. My family is broke as hell. That was not real silver law. They all scramble for the door and the kid never really explained anything at school. Turns out they were poor too. Just dumb kids knowing the weight of money too early. Edit. Jonathan. I forgive you and I'm sorry for your lot in life. I was the guest in this one. But once I fertilized a British couple's rose garden by puking a gallon of red wine and truffle stew all over it. I am not welcome back. Give people free tattoos. No, he doesn't do tattoos. The kit was from Amazon. Took the biggest fucking shit you can imagine. Turd was so big it wouldn't flush. Made a land bridge right across the bowel. So she covered it with a butt-ton of TP and then sprinkled perfume all over it to mask the smell. Small chick too. Edit. Thanks for the upvotes folks. And for that award. Made my day. My mom made a friend at her church who was in need of a place to stay and we had a spare room. She ended up drinking about 25 bottles of my mom's wine in 1 week and ruining the mattress and rug with reddish-brown hair dye that we thought was blood for a long time. Get too high on acid and stuck on a loop of their undying love and lust for me and my partner while their monogamous roid head BF, also on acid, got more and more angry. It obviously wasn't on purpose. However, that doesn't make it any less weird. I recently had a grown-ass man snort a line of Parmesan cheese like it was cocaine. He was completely sober and this was totally unprompted. Not too weird. But a friend was extremely fucked up and tried to puke into my fish tank. Water equals a good puke spot, I guess? He riced. So I had to put him in a full Nelson and drag his ass into the bathroom and aim his head into a toilet. There were little puddles of puke all along the way. I had him clean it up the next day. But he was hung over as shit. So I still had to clean more when he left. Other than that, it was a good party. Gave my dog drugs because. And I quote, she looked sad so I thought some Molly would cheer her up. Looking back though, I tried to be patient at first. After hearing his attempts at defending himself, my reaction was pretty harsh. And I do not regret a fucking thing I said or did. Fuck that piece of shit. He gave MDMA to a fucking 3-pound chihuahua and almost killed the only reliably good thing in my life and the only thing that gave me any real sense of happiness, and he couldn't understand why I was so angry and had the nerve to try and press charges on me. Way too many of these involve shitting and I'm never letting anyone in my bathroom again. One time my parents invited some of their friends over. They had 2 kids. A couple years younger than me and my brothers. A boy and a girl. Since I'm the only girl in my family, I was forced to play with the girl. I showed her around my room and stupidly showed her my stash of Nutella. After a few hours of playing Minecraft in my lounge room, she goes to the bathroom. She was taking pretty long, so I went to check on her, but she came out of my bedroom. Nutella on her face. I go into my room and check my stash to find one of my Nutella jars empty. I'm never rude to guests, so I let it slip by. I've never let her in my room ever since then. While taking a shit, they took my fancy-ish bathroom trash can and put their feet on top of it so that they could be more efficient. They called it a squatty potty? I only found out because I went in to grab something and saw the brand new trash can had a huge dent in it. So I asked what happened. He explained to me all about how it's a more efficient way to poop and that I should try it. This same guy had been talking to me about potentially being a roommate. So I told him if that's how he was going to treat the place, I wasn't interested. A few days later my house was egged. Still wonder if it was him or just some neighborhood kids. I used to have a friend who would always come over to take a shower. When I asked him about it, he told me he preferred my bathroom over him's. An old neighbor got drunk at a poker game at my house. She then went into my bathroom, left the door open and peed on the bath mat. My friend walked in on it and the neighbor said it was because she couldn't find the light switch. The hall light was on, which fully lit up this tiny bathroom. Wasn't my house, was a friend's. We had been invited over to drink and stay the night. We sat in the garden, talked and drank, and then one of our friends excused himself to the bathroom. He was gone for about 20 minutes until another friend said he will go check on him. He came back down 5 minutes later laughing his ass off. The dude had gone upstairs and ran a bubble bath from himself. Lit a few candles and even had a floating duck rolling on the floor laughing. The friend hosting was a cool guy and wasn't angry as we were all friends. My cousin was in high school when she decided to bring all of her high school friends in our house. My dad was at home that time, so he decided to cook lunch for these high school girls. So when my dad was cooking, he noticed that these girls are coming out of our restroom, facing the hallway where my dad was cooking, just covered with towels and being loud as hell. My dad was quite shocked and irritated. My cousin and these girls didn't tell my dad that they'll also take a shower's SMDH. I knew damn well that they also used our bathroom stuff and didn't even apologize for leaving our restroom dirty. Some people can't buy manners. Not just a weird thing, but a weird tradition. My former parties were known for being a bit on the exciting side. Some of my women friends started a tradition of hanging their bras on my dining room chandelier when I'd throw a party as a blessing of Bacchus. As soon as they got to my place, off comes the bra, hang it on the chandelier, get their first drink. They didn't get topless, mind you, just hung their bras over the alcohol. I think the record was 14-ish. My ex-girlfriend took a crap in my parents' bathroom and she pressed flush after it didn't go down the first time. Cue stream of shit water and toilet paper flooding the floor, getting in the air vent and spilling out into the hallway. She was inconsolable and couldn't bring herself to come over to my parents' house ever again. She never saw them after that. My wife's oldest friend was using wet naps to wipe her ass and just like putting them in our tiny bathroom trash can. This in and of itself would have been eyebrow-raising but not memorably ridiculous. But she'd also spent the entire trip criticizing our house. And at one point when I noticed a weird smell in the bathroom area, which is adjacent to the kitchen, she said, "Well, it must be your sinks. Do you ever clean them?" You know. When in reality it was the poop-covered wet naps creating the smell. I discovered what she'd been doing when I went to empty and take out the trash as she was leaving. Now, I don't know how it's done, but I know this is a thing people do, and I'm assuming there are ways to do it without leaving sizable amounts of shit all over them and on the trash can. I seriously questioned whether this person knew how to wipe properly. When I confronted her, she straight up started lecturing us about how we wipe our asses. No accountability. She is banned from our house. A girl that I barely knew flushed down one of these smell good thingies that sits on the edge of a toilet. Whole bathroom floor had to be ripped up and the pipes needed to be fixed. My uncle, aunt, and my mom traveled from another country to visit while I was in college. They stayed in my place. I had to leave for a class in the morning and left them in the house to chill. When I came back from my class, my uncle had shaved my shinpoo's legs down thinking he did me a favor. My fluffy cute dog looked so ugly with naked legs. What's worse, he somehow only shaved 3 and forgot the 4th leg. Throwing out my toilet bin because he shit himself while peeing, so he needed to throw out his boxers and I guess my toilet bin too. Took my washing basket when they left. Says she was a vegan, so only brought with her some seeds, nuts, etc. But cooked and ate my pork chops before I got home from work. She had no company over, so it was her. Dies at the toilet. Slept in my bed while I was at school. From my pub that crossed the line. Doused all my dishes in olive oil because they thought it was dish soap. NSFW warning here. Younger cousin was jacking off in the rocking chair in the living room for some odd reason. It was really gross and I made him go to the bathroom once I found out. His brother told me he kept doing it everywhere. Now every time I think I'd done something embarrassing at someone's place, I think at least I didn't jack off in full view for any to see. Pulled out his erect penis, put a crab claw on it, and proclaimed Spartacus really loudly. I threw a New Year's party once. Someone I invited brought a group of people who I knew, but didn't exactly the company of. Sometime around 1 a.m. I noticed that my keepsake urn necklace containing my brother's ashes was missing. Then, I discover a couple of small lines of powder-like material in lines on my bathroom counter. The fuckers had tried to snort my brother and stole the necklace his remains were in. I was livid. The one coming to mind is the pizza delivery guy who got out of his truck, stretched his legs for a couple of minutes and even went into the splits at one point before casually sauntering to the front door to hand over the pizza. We were all at the window spying on him in shock. Definitely one of my friends plus one to a party I was hosting. I didn't mind him being there. I just encouraged him to be himself and not be introverted. He took that pretty literally. There were a few memorable things he did that definitely fit in this criteria. We were lightly drinking. Some beers and wine. Nothing serious. He was shotgunning every beer we gave to him, then screaming after finishing a beer. Every time. Shortly after he was pretty buzzed, he was out in my backyard shirtless in 6 degrees Fahrenheit snow throwing snowballs at my neighbor's windows. For like 15 minutes. Non-stop. It was a night party. We requested everyone only drink in moderation so they can drive home. Or at least call an Uber. We don't have a guest room or a large couch to sleep on. He passed out in our garage on the concrete. We found him the following morning laying in his own vomit. When he was leaving, he asked if he could use a shower. There's 2 showers in the house. The master bedroom shower and the guest shower. He took a shower in the master bedroom shower. As he was leaving, he shotgunned a beer, screamed at 7 in the morning in my front yard, then peeled out in his '90s Civic. New Year's Eve party. He got super drunk and lecherous. Wouldn't leave my housemate's GF alone. Kept putting his arms around her and stuff. I told him that if he touched her again he was leaving. And he got mad at me and said, "Look at her. How do you expect me not to touch her? Sure, she's pretty and I think we all have a bit of a crush on her. But none of us are touching her up or being creepy assholes." MF makes my skin crawl. I invited 6 people for Sunday brunch, including an acquaintance, Kay, who worked in my department. It seemed like a good opportunity to reciprocate an invitation she'd extended within the past few months, a big gathering at her house with her roommates. I stopped by for about an hour. Had a delightful time amongst mostly strangers. It was a rare hot summer day in upstate NY. And I lived in a small house with no air conditioning. I woke up early to bake biscuits while it was a bit cooler. Was running as many fans as I could to circulate air before guests came over. Through the buzz of the fans, I hear a knock on the door. It was Kay. She was here an hour before guests were invited. "Oh, I was out for a morning walk and then I realized I was in your neighborhood early. Thought I could help." And in she waltzed. I couldn't send her on an errand because she walked over. This was her first time over, maybe while on foot. She needed to use the bathroom? Was it daylight savings time? My mind circled trying to reason why on earth she'd show up without so much as a call, text. I said I needed to hop in the shower, I was disgustingly hot. But said she was welcome to add a batch of simple syrup to lemonade and pour herself a glass. Hopped in the shower for 5 minutes. And she got to work while I was in there. When I came out, she'd set food on the table, some which wasn't meant to be served. She also gathered branches and leaves from the yard and created a tablescape. We made small talk as I chopped vegetables for a frittata and she whipped eggs. She did most of the chatting. As other guests arrived on time, she offered them lemonade and asked them to take off their shoes. It then dawned on me I had a gorilla co-host. As I set one of the last dishes on table, she announced, "Come and get it." Handed people silverware. Offered to spoon different items on their plates. The last straw was when she went out onto my deck. Picked unwashed mint and tried to garnish someone's yogurt trifle. He pulled his plate away and said, "I don't want you touching my food." Mercifully, someone offered her a ride home since she'd walked over. I'd never felt so uncomfortable in my own home due to someone's well-intended gestures. Threw my stuff out and claimed it was their home all along. Had a guest accidentally book their flight a week early. Tell us one day before. Showed up and stayed a total of 17 days. They were strung out on Adderall, antidepressants, and antipsychotics. We found this out because they were acting so weird and we checked their bag when they were out trying to refill their RX. Took them 3 hours with Google Maps to find the pharmacy 1 mile away. They repacked their bags sometimes twice a day. I was kind of scared. We slept with the door locked. This one guy used my bathroom and couldn't unclog the toilet. He admitted to me that he considered just leaving, but instead asked if I could do it for him. It was a peculiar first date. I have this friend who told me she smelled my shampoo when she went in the bathroom. Apparently she does this to every house she visits. She smells their shampoo and body wash. An ex, GF and I had an apartment years ago. She was still in touch with an ex. The ex and his GF wanted to come to the area and we invited him and his GF to stay with us for the weekend. We all hit it off at dinner. Great conversation and laughs. And was a great Friday night. We had a spare bedroom and that's where the two of them slept. FYI. We used this spare room also to store a few things. And to put our dirty clothes in hampers. I got up in the middle of the night to the both of them snacking in the kitchen. No biggie. I do it too and I told them to make themselves at home. Well, after chatting and having some chips, dip I caught on to what they both were wearing. Our clothes. What? Now I know that people sometimes offer up clothes like PJs, Miss Clothing to a guest that ISNT prepared, but they brought bags with them. What in the heck was in their bags that they needed to wear our clothes? Worst part was the shorts and t-shirts that they both had on were dirty and visibly so. I told them we had clean clothes and offered that up, but they said they were fine. They ended up leaving the next morning. But who stays at someone's place and wears their dirty clothes? WTF? Yeah. We laughed about it after they left, but I couldn't help but be creeped out. My cousin paid me a visit last month. She is a year younger to me and I never invited her. I live in 4-bedroom apartment with 3 other people and things like kitchen sharing. Common washrooms and balcony, terrace usage are pretty synchronized so that we don't end up fighting. However, my cousin disregarded everything. Annoying all 4 of us. Then went partying one night and I gave her the spare key so she won't turn up late and wake everyone by ringing the doorbell multiple times. Next morning we all woke up and realized she didn't come home. Must have hooked up with someone and stayed out. And we were tailing as to when she will leave and all that while having breakfast. After an hour I decided to give her a call and the phone started ringing in the house. Her purse and phone was on the shoe cabinet but she wasn't anywhere. We got worried and we checked the security camera. Turns out she came in at around 3 in the morning. Got herself inside using the spare key I gave. But she couldn't be seen anywhere. Anyway, we started looking up hoping she hadn't fallen out of terrace or something. After 15 minutes of panic looking we found her passed out on her own vomit in the washroom. She had also stained her wrist and needed medical help. Spent the whole Sunday cleaning up the washroom. Getting her sobered up and taking her to the hospital. Worst Sunday morning ever. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.